Testing 1, 2, 3. There we go. Sorry about that, everybody. We're having some technical problems there for some reason. Not sure why, but we are getting into BattleTech Advanced here. We have a mission set up. Let's go. And I need to fix the audio. Snords Irregulars. Ooh. So Snords Irregulars were a very unique group of mercenaries. Especially were impactful around the Davion Civil War. So that's interesting. Alright, gotta fix the audio real quick. 1 second. Sometimes there's situations where I play the game without the audio. And I forgot to fix it there, but I think we're good to go now. Alright, so we have destroy enemy units. We have enemy units up here. Alright, if we could try to get to the high ground up here, that would be huge. So let's try to push for the high ground.
Move order received.
We do have some mediums, but we're still mostly a company of lights. That's actually about 50-50 now. Oh, there's an enemy on the high ground.
Heading out.
But most of my mediums are on the lighter side. 45 tons or less makes up the vast majority of my company here.
Good to go.
Alright. Let's push up the Jenner, see if we can see what we're up against here.
Understood. Moving fast.
A Rashaka! Oh my goodness. So a Rashaka is the inner sphere version of the attempt to make the Timberwolf. So it's not nearly as good as a Timberwolf itself, but
Fail to connect. Standing by.
it is certainly better than what I have in my mech bay right now, so this is exciting. Challenge is these are very rare, and the chances of me getting 5 pieces, which is what I need to put a mech together, are really low.
Damn.
So we'll see what happens here.
Commander.
Let's try to reserve here.
Yep.
Now, for the Snorts Irregulars to have a Rashaka is certainly
Waiting for the right move.
within lore. Snorts Irregulars always had a history of putting together either Franken mechs, unique mechs, hard to find mechs, and using them in unique ways. So that's definitely in line with the canon here, which I love. I mean, I'm sure the mechs were just generated
Reporting.
randomly, but still pretty cool.
Yes, Commander.
Alright, we need to stay as evasive as possible
Let's go.
because this mech could wreck us completely all by itself. So it's got 2 medium lasers, 2 ER large lasers, LRM-20, and a medium pulse, which is already broken. So this is actually not a very powerful version of this mech, but still, we have to take it as a legitimate threat. And I'd love to get as much of this mech as possible, so that down the road maybe we can get a Rashaka.
Ready for orders. Aye, aye.
Not misses like that, we won't. Rashaka does have a lot of evasion for its tonnage,
Why am I in a cockpit? Is this smart?
so it's a good thing we're fighting it one-on-one here.
I got the speed you need.
So hopefully we can wear it down. If we could get a tag on him right now, that would be huge. Let's see if we can... Nope, of course we missed the tag. That would have come in really handy there.
Warning shot successful.
Receiving you. Aye, aye. Standing by.
It's funny, the Rashaka almost looks like the
Confirmed.
Lego version of a Timberwolf. And that's by design, because it's meant to show that it's kind of a primitive version of it, and it's very in line with what you see in the canon.
Yes, Commander.
We need to try to overheat this guy as much as we can here. Try to take some of his weapons away from him. Engine crit, alright.
Now that hit something good.
If we could get 3 engine crits
Waiting
without
for orders.
destroying him, that would be nice. Then we could theoretically get 5 parts.
On. On.
Oh man, you got me.
Again, if we could get
I got the speed you
a
need.
tag and maybe an engine crit here, that would be really nice. Gyro crit, okay.
Oh, that went in like butter.
What's up, boss?
Oh, an Oozle, another rare mech. Again, maybe they've
Orders.
designed the parameters around Snooze Irregulars to have these unique mechs, which is really cool if they did that.
Copy that. Give them everything you've got.
Alright, so what I could do now is maybe focus on these other mechs here, because if I destroy the other mechs while I keep the Rashaka busy, then maybe he'll eject, and then we can get more parts. There's a lot.
Waiting for orders.
is I could use... Let's power down some of the attacks here by the fire starter.
Acknowledge.
Just try to keep him overheated. Oh, we ejected. We should get 5 parts.
Go time.
No, he just blew off a part. 4 parts. Oh man, that changes everything.
Standing
I was trying to get 5 parts of that mech,
by. Hauling ass.
so I can maybe put him together, but
Affirmative.
I mean, it could literally be.
Target eliminated.
4 parts of the oozle. It could literally be
Oh man, you got me.
a year of game time before I find another Rashaka. They're so rare. Or for that matter.
Yeah. Oh man, we got this made. Oh, that went in like butter.
Ready for orders. Going full throttle. Let's get this done. Reporting critical hit. Orders.
It's pretty much all the weapons off that wasp.
Copy that.
It has the SRM too.
Hell yeah. I'm losing weapon systems.
Hit my own general there, that's not good. Alright.
Mission successful.
Alright, well that was a quick battle. If we could have just gotten... If we could have just gotten one more part of that Rashaka, I'd be a lot more excited. Did damage to our own Jenner there. That's great. I mean, given the situation, I think we have to take those parts. Unless there's weapons here that are so good that I can't turn them down. Hey, our gaming, thank you for stopping by. I was hoping you would stop by. I saw you were playing earlier. This equaling +5 is rare. Maybe I take that. And I just see what random parts I get. Okay, 2 Rashaka parts and 2 Oozle parts. And an XL engine. Yeah, I feel like that was the best of what I could do there. A raid! Thanks for stopping by, Ark. Really appreciate it. We're playing some Battletech Advanced. Just got started, so we've got 2 hours ahead of us. It's going okay. We're still early on in our playthrough. Most of our mechs are lights or on the lighter side of mediums, so lots of room to grow. But we ran into Rashaka today, but we only got 4 parts that dropped, so that was painful. Because who knows when I'm going to see one of those again. They're very rare. And we took some damage along the way here. Not too bad, just a couple medium lasers. The fact that it was a self-inflicted attack is a little frustrating, but there we go.
Right. I'll get it in the schedule.
Glad you enjoyed Hades Rim, our gaming. Okay. Alright. I'm gonna have to try to push through as many missions as possible here before we... here we go. Here's a battle. Let's take that against the mercenaries. Maybe we'll get Snoots Irregulars again. That was really cool. Alright. Problem here is we're short some mechs right now. So we'll take an LRM carrier Mark II. And let's do this and this, and let's deploy. I'm excited about the fact that here in the U.S. it's the start of a 3-day weekend, because we have Veterans Day tomorrow. Veterans Day means a lot to me as somebody who spent 7 years in the U.S. military. You know, it's an important holiday. It's not just about barbecues and 3-day weekends and travel. It's about, you know, appreciating those that go overseas. And that's a key component for Veterans Day. So Veterans Day is different than Memorial Day here in the United States. So Memorial Day is for those who died serving their country in the United States. In the United States, Veterans Day honors those that have served in the military, but it's very technical, because to serve in to be considered a veteran per the terms of the U.S. Department of Defense, you have to serve outside of the United States. So, for example, you know, I served for 7 years. However, I was never deployed outside of the United States. Therefore, while I was a U.S. service member, was never a veteran. So you have to be very careful about that to make sure you don't do what some people will call... Yeah, so your Remembrance Day is very close to what we have for Veterans Day. So, but there is a key distinction. So, I could say I'm somebody who would be celebrated for your Remembrance Day because I served in the military. However, in the United States, Veterans Day, if you want to be technical, refers to those people who served outside of the United States.
I'm on my way.
So a lot of people don't get that.
Ordered, received.
You know, so when people tell me, you know, thank you for your service on Veterans Day, I will, I will tell them I appreciate it, but, and leave it alone. But in my mind, I know that I'm not technically somebody who should be celebrated that day because I did not serve outside the United States. So the reason we have a Veterans Day and it focuses on people who serve outside of the United States
Receiving you.
is because you sacrifice a lot when you're obviously deployed overseas. You spend time away from your family. A lot of people have financial hardships when they serve outside of the United States. And obviously there's a greater chance of having your life threatened if you're outside the United States. Although I will tell you, our gaming, the #1 cause for deaths in the military, can anybody in chat guess what the #1 cause of deaths in the military is?
Understood. Understood.
It's
Moving
not
back.
combat. Yeah, Fluffy, I get it, and that's why I always say thank
Why am I
you.
in a cockpit? Is this
You know,
smart?
I'm not gonna, belabor the fact with people,
Love from above.
but I just know that there's a difference between Veterans Day and, for example, Memorial Day, which celebrates the ultimate sacrifice of those who actually have died in the service of the United States. So
The next
it's a
one.
technical
Won't
difference,
miss.
Commander,
and I don't belabor it, but
all in at.
it is a difference. So good to see you, Big Fluffy. Looking forward to Mega Mech tonight. As everybody can see in my description of this morning, we have
Yes, Commander.
BattleTech this morning, and then at 8 p.m. Eastern Time,
Jumping.
we're going to be playing Mega Mech, which is a digital tabletop BattleTech game. So we're excited about playing that every Thursday. We can have up to 14 people playing with us. Typically we get like
Lifting.
8 or between 8 and 10 on most weeks, but we do have up to 14 people who play with us, so it's a lot of fun.
I'm receiving you.
Yeah, your Remembrance Day is kind of both, and to be honest with you, our gaming, it would be, I wish instead of calling it Veterans Day, they would have called it Military Service Day, something like that, because it is more accurate. But because anybody who serves in the military is risking their lives, because the number one cause for deaths in the United States military is actually accidents. Vehicle accidents, airplane accidents, and other types of non-combat injuries are the number one way that people lose their lives in the military.
On the move. Full speed.
And you'll see that a lot. We'll have you'll hear news in the story about maybe a truck overturning and killing some people, or a helicopter crash, which is very common. And all those things technically cause more deaths than combat. Now, there are obviously situations where that's not the case. Obviously, at the height of the wars in the Gulf or the wars in Afghanistan, combat was the number one cause of fatalities. But when the United States is not involved in a significant military action, the number one cause is accidents. So, that's why I wish Veterans Day was called something like Armed Service Day or Service Day, something that reflects the fact that anybody who serves in the United States military could be hit by a vehicle,
Wait.
could
why
have
am I in
some
a
sort of
cockpit?
a
Is this smart?
ammunition explosion
I got the
or
speed
something
you
other
need.
than combat that could kill somebody just as easily as if they were serving outside overseas. So I think Remembrance Day is a more accurate depiction of the intent,
That was
which is to thank people for their
definitely
military
effective.
service.
What's up, boss?
And that's why, as Fluffy said, most people don't really care whether you served overseas or not. I'm just giving you kind of the technical version of it. Because I like to be accurate, and you don't want to, what we call in the military, stealing somebody else's valor, which is saying something, that taking credit for something
Good to go.
that you didn't do is something that people who have served in the military are very careful about. And that could be something as crazy as, well, I'll give you an example. So
Got it.
when I was serving in the military, I was serving in the National Guard,
Confirmed.
and one of our members was wearing a combat patch, which is where you designate the unit that you're working
On the
with.
way. Double tap.
He was designated, which is called a combat patch, is where you have a patch on one arm, which is typically your right arm, which signifies your unit, and then on your left arm, you will have a patch that shows where you were served overseas as a veteran and what unit that was. Well, this particular soldier in my guard unit had a daughter that was serving overseas.
I think I hit something good.
Mess him up. Mess him up.
So he was wearing the patch for his daughter's unit who was serving overseas on his left arm. And technically, that is what we call stealing valor, because he was claiming an honor that he did not earn. Now, technically, his daughter was serving overseas, so he was trying to honor his daughter, but he didn't understand that people would see that patch and assume that he had served overseas, which is not something you want to do. So, due to that, there was a whole brouhaha when senior members of our unit saw that and said, "Hey, you never served overseas," and it became a big issue. So, stealing valor is something that service members take very seriously.
Wait, why am I in a cockpit?
Yeah,
Is this smart?
there's also some people who will say that they were in the military and they weren't, or there's some people who will wear medals that they didn't win, and that's also a form of stealing valor in the military, because you didn't earn the right to wear those medals. Now, there's nothing more frustrating a service member or former service member finds than somebody who pretends that they were in the military and they really were not. That's a really bad situation.
Locked on.
And nobody wants to see that.
Waiting for orders. Confirmed.
But that being said, Veterans Day is a great day for those of us that want to honor the people who made the sacrifice. And the reason there's a distinction now, so
Yep.
anybody who's been in the military, we get situations where we're taken away from our friends and family on holidays and birthdays and special days that civilians would not have to miss out with their family. And so anybody who serves, is making sacrifices on the daily. I can't tell you how many 3-day weekends, I gave up my 3-day weekend to
Got it, Commander.
be in a parade or be on duty, where I would have loved to have been enjoying the holiday. That's just part of your service in the military. So, but that's a small sacrifice. you know, for example, like while I
Roger
did
that. Full speed.
go overseas, because the military actually factors in some things as well. I should say in the National Guard, they factor in things like age as far as whether you're, quote, deployable or not. And they actually have actuary tables where they will figure out, in certain situations, some people might not be deployed due to their age or medical conditions or something along those lines.
Wait, why am I in a
So
cockpit?
while I was not able to deploy outside the United States,
I got the speed you
I did
need.
help a lot of people get ready who were going to deploy to Iraq and Afghanistan. That was what my particular unit did, is we helped people get qualified and get their skills ready to go overseas. That was what I did. So,
Enemy down.
alright. Just cruising through this mission here. It's a lower level mission. But I can use some more mechs right now. I'm a little light on mechs. Let's see, our gaming said, did you hear about the guy who took a date somewhere with a military discount wearing his father or grandfather's kit? The waiter was ex-military and asked his service how his service was in the super soldier division. The guy was wearing a Vietnam era badges and medals. He bolted out of the restaurant. Yeah, that's the ultimate form of disrespect there. He would have had a problem with any service member that saw that and went out into the parking lot with it. Let me put it that way, because that's not good at all.
Enemy down.
Alright, there we go. Little grunt.
Mission successful.
It's Corona
Yeah, that
time.
stuff does happen in our gaming.
Hey, it's Corona time right now.
Or people will post.
It's Corona time.
More common now.
It's Corona
is
time.
people will post on social media acts of valor that they did not partake in, and that's just where it comes to your personal honor. And that's just not appropriate. All right, so we got Nighthawk here. We got Valkyrie parts. We're gonna take the Nighthawk parts here. Nighthawk is not bad for its tonnage. Nighthawk parts, some Panther parts, some Valkyrie parts. Medium pulse, okay. Oh yeah, absolutely. I did give up a lot of weekends, you know, holidays. Also, when I was in the National Guard, we would have 2 weeks of service in the summer, so I would be away from my job and away from my family for 2 weeks every summer. Not that big of a deal, but still, it's something that was a bit of a sacrifice. But people don't understand there's a lot of work that goes into getting a unit in peacetime. In wartime it's a little different, but getting a unit deployed outside the United States is actually a pretty big task, because you have to actually let me check the mech bay. You have to actually go through a lot of hoops to become certified as deployable for the U.S. military. Now, in an all-out war, that would absolutely be set aside. But a normal deployment for the U.S. military outside of the United States can be up to 2 years if you're rotated out of the United States. So, but that deployment period includes all the time that you spend getting ready to deploy. So you might spend 6 months deployed, getting ready to go outside the United States, and then you could spend theoretically another year and a half outside of the United States after you've prepared to deploy. Alright, let's do this garrison duty. Let's see, Blackjack. Do I want to take a LRAM carrier on garrison duty? I'm going to have to protect this very carefully, but I think we'll be okay. So, a unit has to go through a lot of hoops to be certified as deployable outside the United States. Everybody has to be at a certain level of marksmanship. Everybody has to have certain skills checked off on their lists. Everybody has to have, all of pass their physical fitness requirements. There's a lot of hoops that go into a unit going overseas. That's why typically a unit will take 4 to 6 months of prep time before they're actually deployed outside the United States. And then, for example, a lot of units, depending on where you're deployed, you will take equipment with you, or you will use equipment that is pre-positioned where you're going to be deployed. That was especially the case when units would go to Europe. So in some cases, they would go to Europe and they would not take any significant portions of their military equipment because they would just draw from the stockpiles over in Europe. But then you have to go through the process of getting your equipment matched up with your personnel. That takes a long time as well. Oh yeah, that's actually true. Current U.S. military doctrine, or I should say U.S. Army doctrine,
Command
or
interface
as
initiated.
of 4 years ago when I left the service, was that you would have 20% of your troops supported by 80% of your troops. So it's really a 5-to-1 ratio for someone who would be in the quote-unquote front line. And that only increases as the complexity of your weapons systems
Ready for orders.
increases. Alright. So we need to hold out for reinforcements. Defend these buildings here. Ensure the buildings survive. Destroy the Outworld Vanguard. Escort friendly vehicles to base defense. One thing I wish in these defense missions is they would make these vehicles a little farther away from your base and make it harder to defend them, because I've very rarely had a situation where these vehicles don't get to base before they get destroyed. Yeah, so you're correct about that. So I'm hoping to stream a lot tomorrow in honor of Veterans Day. So I'm hoping I'm going to stream a good chunk of the day tomorrow. So we're going to play a lot of different games. Got the Wasp up there. I was going to see the Marvels tomorrow,
Oh,
but
man. You got me.
the reviews are so bad that I think this is going to be the first MCU movie
I got the
that I'm not
speed
going to
you
see in the
need.
theater. I'll probably force myself to watch it when it comes out on streaming, but I'm not going to watch the Marvels in the theater. It's that bad.
Commander.
And I've watched some very meh Marvel movies in my life, but I'm not going to watch the Marvels because I actually feel like if it's as bad as people say, people should not support the Marvels in the movie theater and show Marvel Studios that we are not just going to watch any bad movie that comes around. You know, a lot of people, for example, thought Ant-Man 3 was lousy. I thought it was an average movie. I didn't think it. Let me put it this way: I saw Ant-Man 3 in the theaters twice, and I'm never gonna probably watch it again. That's how bad it was.
Negative damage.
But I did see it twice in the theater because it does have ramifications for other TV shows, but and movies. But Marvel's is apparently so bad that I'm just gonna skip it altogether. And a lot of that is just to kind of send a message to Marvel that, you know, we can't constantly just watch any horrible movie that they put in the theater. At some point, people have to stand up and say, hey, get better. You know, it's one of the reasons that I didn't see The Flash in the movie theaters. Actually, I haven't seen this Flash, period. I've watched summaries of The Flash, so I know what happened in The Flash, but I haven't watched The Flash myself. Because I didn't want to spend 3 hours of my time on what was reportedly a very bad movie.
Will be done.
And I did not go see Blue Beetle for the reason that it really doesn't matter, because they're fixing everything. Yeah, Big Fluffy says Flash was bad. I saw enough on YouTube to know The Flash was a bad movie. And the reviews I've seen about the Marvels just tells me it's a horrible movie, because I think they filmed it and then they changed it a couple times, and then they tried to cut it up to turn it into a movie that was good, but they kept changing the script, and there was a whole bunch of production issues with the Marvels. So at some point you have to say, you know what, Kevin Feige, do better, and I'll go see your movies again. And I'm actually really worried that Deadpool, which is one of my favorite characters, has Deadpool 3 coming out, and I'm very worried that they're gonna find a way to screw that movie up. We haven't seen any of the modern Marvel movies. Fluffy, are you talking about the Marvels? No, the Marvels will make about yeah, so the Marvels will make probably about 120 million. But I think the Marvels is only going to make significant money this weekend. And once everybody gets word that it's bad, it's going to fall off of a cliff next week. And the Marvels had a budget of 230 million, allegedly. Plus, they're probably spending about 40 million to promote the movie. So, the real cost of putting the Marvels in the theater is about 270 million. And there's no way they're going to make that much money out of this movie. I've heard it's that bad. You know, Ant-Man and the Wasp had a huge...
Waiting for orders.
Was actually a financial success for Marvel, even though it was ridiculed.
Roger. Full speed.
But I think the Marvels is going to be a complete bomb of a movie. And I think they're going to lose a lot of money. Now, the biggest loser for Disney this year so far was Haunted Mansion, and they lost $140 million on the Haunted Mansion,
Roger.
which had one good weekend. So, I think the Marvels is going to lose probably 100 million, maybe 90 million. So I think it might be one of those few Marvel movies that actually loses money. There aren't very many of them. And anybody who's watched my streams or knows me knows that I'm a huge Marvel fanboy. Look, I've got a What If t-shirt on right now, which is one of their TV shows. So I'm a huge Marvel fan, but
I'm ready.
I'm not going to support the Marvels because it is apparently so bad that Marvel needs to get a message that they can't just put out crap every time and we'll just buy it. That's very similar to what people did with The Flash. A lot of comic book movie fans
Critical hit.
kind of took their stand with The Flash and said, you know what, I'm not going to watch that movie even though I'm a comic book fan. You know, it's really important that sometimes you tell the movie studios that they need to put out better movies. So I'm really worried because the writer's strike is set to end today if everybody votes to ratify the new contract. And assuming that the actor's strike is over and Hollywood gets back to work, they still have very little time to finish Deadpool 3, and they've already come out and said that Deadpool 3 is going to be released on schedule in March. So,
Waiting for orders.
and I think the fact that the Marvels is going to be a bomb is only going to put more pressure on Marvel to make sure that Deadpool 3 comes out on time. So I'm very concerned that you might see similar production problems with the Marvels that you saw with the Marvels that you're going to see with Deadpool 3. Now, I'm hopeful that Ryan Reynolds, who really takes a lot of pride in the Deadpool franchise, will keep Disney from impacting the quality of the movie just to get it out on time. So we'll see what happens there. But I have a lot of faith in Ryan Reynolds because Ryan Reynolds really is a very smart guy, and he understands the value of the Deadpool franchise, and I don't think he's going to let Marvel significantly damage the movie by rushing it out too soon. So I'm very hopeful that Deadpool will be fine. I mean, Deadpool has the potential to be an amazing film because not only are we going to get Wolverine back into Marvel movies, but Hugh Jackman is going to be playing him. There's a lot of amazing potential in Deadpool 3. I thought Deadpool 2 was an okay movie. I didn't think it was anywhere near as good as Deadpool 1. But, you know, I did enjoy Deadpool 2 quite a bit. I'm hoping that Deadpool 2 or 3 will be the second best Deadpool movie. Or maybe the best. There's always the possibility that with adding Wolverine into it, plus the story I heard is going to be really good, there's always the potential that Deadpool 3 could be better than Deadpool 1. But that's a very rare situation. There are very rare movies where the sequel is better than the original. You know, some of the Rocky movies, you could argue, were better than the first Rocky movie. You could also say Empire Strikes Back was superior to Star Wars. That's a very intense debate in the Star Wars community. But it's very rare that a sequel is better than the original movie for a franchise. Terminator 2? Oh! So, Fluffy said Terminator 2. Terminator 2 is really close. I think Terminator 2 was a more exciting movie than Terminator 1, but I would argue that Terminator 1 was, as far as the craft of the movie, I feel that Terminator 1 was a better crafted movie. I mean, Terminator 1, for the budget that it had,
Heavy damage.
was an amazing film. It had a very relatively low budget, and it put together a phenomenal movie. Big Fluffy says Aliens. Again, that's kind of a borderline situation. I would say Terminator 1 and 2 are equally good. I would say Alien and Aliens are also equally good, but they're equally good for different reasons. Like, Aliens 2, from an action standpoint, was an amazing film. Truly an amazing film, and it still stands up today. But if you look at the craft of filmmaking, I would say Alien is superior. I would lose in that poll. That's fine. Like I said, I think they're very close together. Like, if you had me grade Terminator 1 versus Terminator 2, I would say, like, Terminator 1 is like a 95 and Terminator 2 is like a 93. It would be very close. And same with Aliens. I'd probably say Alien is probably about a 95, and maybe Aliens is a 92, but I would still say they were both great movies. They're just different. But, you know, one thing I will go to my grave as saying is that Empire Strikes Back was the best Star Wars movie ever made. And I will go to the grave on that one. You know, I love the first Star Wars, but Empire Strikes Back is an amazing film. Oh, Big Fluffy! I think Big Fluffy hits it on the head there. He says, "Alien is sci-fi horror, and Aliens is sci-fi action." That's exactly right. So they're different movies, so you kind of have to look at them from different perspectives. Alien as a horror movie is one of the best horror movies ever made. There is nothing...
Yes, Commander.
There are few horror movies that are scarier than Alien. Because, you know, I lump Alien in with The Thing, which I thought was also... The Thing, which was very similar, was one of the scariest horror movies I've ever seen.
Target eliminated.
Ooh, that's tough, our gaming. I don't think I loved Rogue One, but I don't think it was better than any of the original trilogy. I love Rogue One. Rogue One is is a superior film. It's a really good film. But is it more impactful than the first 3 movies? I can't say it was. I mean, but that being said, Rogue One was better than any of the sequel trilogy,
Oh man.
which was really hot garbage. I mean, the sequel trilogy was just horrible.
I got the
And
speed
what they
you
did
need.
in that sequel trilogy was just horrible.
Commander, with my bride. Oh baby.
Ready for orders.
We got a thorn, a javelin, a phoenix slam, and
Yes, Commander.
there's some awful mechs on this. There's some awful salvage here right now. I'm not excited about any of this salvage.
The shot.
Yeah, but you know, so I'm really hopeful Deadpool 3.
You.
Now I like Deadpool 2. Don't get me wrong. I just didn't like.
Got it.
I didn't like the kid that had the fire powers. I thought that was kind of a weak. They could have done better. But you know, all the stuff involving Juggernaut I thought was great. I loved Domino in the second movie. I loved that they put that group of heroes together. Very short-lived around Deadpool. I thought that was hilarious. But I didn't like the whole saving the kid storyline. Like, I think they could have done better with Deadpool 2. It seemed... I was never really scared that that kid with the fire powers was a real threat. Oh, I loved Rogue One, no question about it. I mean, if I had to rank Rogue One, I would. So let's look at it. So I would do this. This is where we're gonna get into some contention here. So I would do Empire Strikes Back is my #1 Star Wars movie. Then it would be Star Wars. Then it would be Return of the Jedi. Then it would be Rogue One. Then there would be the prequel trilogy, and I'd probably rank them in order of release. So Rogue One would be my fourth favorite Star Wars movie. Now, a lot of that, let's face it, is nostalgia, because I watched the first 3 movies probably 1,000,000 times when I was a kid. And that's what I grew up with, was the first 3 movies. And we won't even talk about the sequel trilogy, which is just horrible. You know, the first sequel, The Force Awakens was a decent movie because it had Han Solo in it, it had Chewbacca, it had kind of a continuation of that first 3 movies. But, you know, after The Force Awakens, I don't think I would ever watch any of the sequel trilogy again.
I'm your spaniel.
It was god-awful.
Done.
Yeah, the whole idea of a slow-speed chase in the second movie was horrible. And the fact that they had that side quest that led to nothing was so horrible in the second movie.
One less target.
Yeah, I didn't like everything being the Death Star, so that's why I'm actually excited about them setting up Thrawn as heir to the Empire in the next movie trilogy, because Thrawn was an amazing character in post Rebellion Empire War. Thrawn is a great character in the books. If you haven't read the Thrawn trilogy in book form, it was an amazing trilogy. I would say equal content-wise to the original trilogy of the films. It really is a good book series.
Position confirmed.
Oh man.
And if they had
You
done
got me.
Thrawn instead of the sequel trilogy,
I got the speed.
it would be a completely different story right now. So I think they're fixing it right now. But that's why I think Kathleen Kennedy at Disney should have been fired a long time ago, because she's really run that franchise as well as Indiana Jones into the ground.
That was.
So Kathleen Kennedy needs to go. I think Kathleen Kennedy either has some sort of lawsuit or something, or maybe she has pictures of somebody doing something incorrect, or she knows where some bodies are buried, because she should have lost her job a long time ago. Which is why there's a lot of rumors that Kevin Feige would leave to go to run Star Wars, which I think is horrible idea. I don't think that will happen, because I think if Kevin left Marvel, the MCU would die, because that's really the only thing that's keeping. If the Marvels is as bad as they say it is, faith in Kevin is the only thing that's keeping Marvel fans on board. And they could easily just jump ship if Kevin left the MCU. So it's not dying, Fluffy. It's having some problems. Do I think that Endgame was probably the high point of the MCU? Yes, I do. Do I think that it's a viable platform for the future? I absolutely do. So I think Marvel, the MCU got greedy. They thought they could just pump out bad content and people would buy it. And that's why people talk about comic book movie fatigue. That's because they pushed out too many bad projects in a row. So I do think Deadpool 3 will be a revival for the MCU.
Confirmed.
I also think that some of the projects that they have coming up, if they do them well, will revive interest. I think the next Captain America movie could be good. I think the Thunderbolts movie could be good. And I'm pretty sure Deadpool 3 is going to be good. So I think next year... I think next year... we will have a situation where next year Marvel will hit on all three of its movies, and it'll be back. So I think 2023, except for Guardians 3, which I think Guardians 3 was a really good movie, but you can't miss on 2 out of your 3 movies and call it a good year. So 2023 was a forgettable year for Marvel. Except for Guardians, which Guardians was a great movie.
I'm receiving you.
Alright, carrier, huh? Alright. Javelin, Phoenix Hawk. Yeah, well, Fluffy, technically Black Panther 2 was 2022, so I don't count Black Panther in 2023. 2022 was a good year for Marvel. 2021 was You know, 2020 was good. 2019 and 2018 were good. But this year was a bad year for Marvel. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, no. Black Panther 2 was Disney's basically holiday release in 2022. But I thought Black Panther was a good movie. They could have done some things that were better. But I thought it was a very good film.
Receiving you.
It was, Black Panther 2, they probably could have cut a little bit out of it to make it a better movie.
On the move. Full
Yeah, like, ironically, there's probably enough material for the Marvels that they could have made a good film. But they apparently changed the story so many times that it kind of wrecked it, from what I hear. I agree. I agree. Black Panther could have been... So Black Panther could have been the new Iron Man, if you will. And I think he would have played that role very well. I think you're right, Fluffy.
Oh man, you got me.
You know, and I do think that they had a window to make Tom Holland that character, but they went in another direction as well. They could have made, but Spider-Man, while he could be a leader. If you look at the comic books, Spider-Man he was a leader when he needed to be a leader, but he wasn't a consistent leader, which I think the MCU does really well. So, when you look at it this way, so Endgame, one of the things that made... No, they that's not why they went the direction they did, because Marvel was heavily involved in all of the Sony productions. So I don't think that's fair to say.
I copy.
But one of the things that made the OG Avengers so good is that they did have two leaders, right? So they had Tony, which I think you could call him like the intellectual leader and the intelligence leader of the group. But then you had Captain America, who was like the heart and soul and spirit of the original Avengers, right? So you basically had two leaders for the Avengers.
Receiving you.
And as much as I like Falcon becoming Captain America, I do think that if Chris Evans had stayed on and they had gotten rid of Iron Man, but they had kept the original Captain America, the whole dynamic would be different, because they would still have, or arguably, if they had Black Panther, they would have that same leader. That's where kind of the Avengers kind of lost their way. You can't rely on the Hulk or Thor being like a leader. That's just not what their roles were.
Here we go.
You know, and we're not even going to talk about Thor 3, because Thor 3 was awful. That was another bad, awful movie from Marvel. You know, Thor 3 could have been a great movie, but they ruined it. So, you know, they've oh, sorry, Thor 4. Thor 4, my apologies. Thor 3 is a great movie. Thor 3 is one of my favorite Marvel movies. Thor 4 could have been good, but they turned it into Taika kind of ruined that movie. Thor 4, if it was done in a serious way, could have been a really good movie. But they made Thor 4. They tried to take Thor 3 and just make Thor 4 a different version of Thor 3, if that makes sense, and it didn't work, because they wasted one of the great villains in Marvel. They ruined it by how they handle gore. If they had made Thor 4 a two-part movie, and they actually made it more serious, and they actually developed gore into being a real threat, I think they could have had a great 2 movies out of Thor 4. Because the gore story could easily have been a 2-movie arc,
I think I hit something
and
good.
it would have been much better.
Hell yeah.
So, but I don't even know if we're going to see Chris Hemsworth anytime soon. He's dealing with some issues right now, so he actually took a sabbatical. So I don't know if we're going to see Chris Hemsworth acting again. He's the type of guy, because he's really big on family, that he could just shut it down and never do another film, and I think Chris Hemsworth would be okay with that. It's one of the reasons I actually admire Chris Hemsworth as a father, because he's a great father and husband. And he's always put his family first. It's been well documented that he does that. So We might never see Thor again on the screen. We'll see what happens. But Thor 4 could have been a 2-movie arc where they developed Gore as a legitimate threat. Yeah, I have seen some of his National Geographic series.
Let's move.
It is very good, and that's where his medical issues actually developed. And why he's paused being in movies at the moment. I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't seen the series.
I think I hit something good.
So I think that one of the biggest mistakes Marvel made was
why
getting
am I in a
rid
cockpit?
of
Is this smart?
Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans at
I
the
got
same
the speed
time.
you need.
Now, they could have had plans by saying, well, we always have Black Panther. You know, at the time, I'm sure they figured out, well, we could just slot back Black Panther into a leadership role
Standing by.
and everything would be fine. But unfortunately, you know, Chadwick Boseman
Aye,
passed
aye.
away, and they didn't know that he was sick.
Yes, Commander.
I'm not. I still don't understand how Disney,
Full speed. Still working.
who should have been requiring physicals, didn't know that Chadwick Boseman was ill, because I think they would have handled the deaths of Iron Man and the disappearance of Captain America very differently if they had known that Black Panther was not going to be around. Or I should say Chadwick Boseman, because of course there is a new Black Panther, but it's not the same Black Panther.
I live to serve.
You know, and they could have easily had like a Black Panther trilogy. If Chadwick Boseman was still around, I think that absolutely would have happened. I think there would be a true Black Panther trilogy if Chadwick Boseman hadn't passed away.
Take that.
But we'll see. Marvel could definitely turn it around. But I think for Marvel to turn it around, they have to get spanked. Oh, thanks, R Gaming. I will talk to you soon. I've got about a half hour left myself before I have to leave. Great conversations as always, R Gaming. One of these days, I have to catch one of your streams. Usually, I start my streams at the same time that you're ending yours, so it's hard for me to tune in. But I do watch your video on demand quite a bit.
Oh man, you got me. I got the speed you need.
So, Fluffy, I'm excited about playing Mega Mech tonight. Those of you who don't know what MegaMech is a digital tabletop game based on
Warning
the
shot
BattleTech universe.
successful.
So it's like playing the old school tabletop BattleTech, but in a digital form. And it's a very challenging game.
Ready for orders.
I would say I would say this game is like beginner's chess, but MegaMech I would say is expert level chess. So it's definitely a more complicated version of this game without some of the graphics, but it's still a very complex game where you have to think about your moves many turns ahead. And we play that at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. It's every Thursday. It's hosted by Big Fluffy 10,000, who's in the chat. So give him a follow and check out MegaMech every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I play as well, and we usually have, 8 to 10 people who play with us, but sometimes as many as 14 who play with us. Actually, Fluffy, I wanted to ask, do you think that we have the right amount of people for MegaMech right now, or do you think we could maybe add some more people to play?
Primitive.
We have a lot of people who play part-time with us, but some people who haven't played for quite some time, we still are holding a spot for. Sometimes I think we could use a couple extra people, just to make things more fun on Thursdays. But I'm excited to play MegaMech tonight, especially since it's a holiday. It's the start of a holiday weekend. Although for me, I'm going to be gone Sunday through Wednesday. I won't be streaming because I'll be on a trip to lovely Orlando, Florida. So I won't be streaming for 3 days next week, which is disappointing.
Waiting for orders.
But hey, it's part of my day job. If you think I support my family with this stream, you've got another thing coming. This is purely for fun. Yeah, I kind of like multiple night drops myself, Fluffy. I mean, I feel like there's more weight.
Wait, why am I in a cockpit? Is this
to
fun?
us if we have multiple
I got the speed.
multiple night missions. I feel are more challenging than our basic. Okay, go in, kill stuff, and end the mission. I usually enjoy the two night missions a little bit more
Good to go.
because I feel like there's more weight to them. Like there's more
Commander?
at stake when we have these bigger multiple night missions.
Aye, aye. Go time.
Is that Panther?
Heading me down.
Right, 2 more rounds left. This will be our last fight of the day. We don't have enough time for another mission, unfortunately. So we're only going to get through 3 missions today. But I'm sure tomorrow I'll be doing some BTA because it will be a fun game to play, and it's a holiday, so we can actually take advantage of the holiday and play a little more tomorrow. Fluffy, I do feel like we could handle,
Standing by.
with the done button, we could probably handle up to 20 people.
Roger that.
And if we ended up going 2 nights once in a while, I don't think it would be the end of the world.
Cry havoc.
Hell no? Alright.
Enemy down.
Fluffy, I'm just saying, more people who play, more people who watch. So it's really a content decision for you, Fluffy. I know herding 20 cats would be daunting. I mean, what's if you have the done button, Fluffy? Well, that took forever because of the done button, and then we had some people who didn't come for the second drop. That one was bad, but I think with the done button, I think the done button equals 3 or 4 people as far as speed. So I think you could do it.
But why am I in a cockpit?
I still would love to.
I got the speed.
I think it would be fun to take 10 of us and maybe our Boo's always gonna complain. So Fluffy, how many people does Joker consistently have? Does he consistently have like 8 to 10 people? Because I think we could have a lot of fun having a little battle between them and us.
Standing by.
Maybe plan it out a month ahead of time and have it as a special event. And let them. Yeah. So if we took our 8 best guys and took his 8 best guys, and we planned something out and said, okay, you guys can build
On target.
whatever you want to build mech-wise, and we had kind of a battle, I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yes, Commander.
I think that would be a lot of... It would be a great cross-streaming opportunity. And maybe we play it over 2 nights, like make it a long scenario so it takes 2 nights, or maybe we play the best 2 out of 3 or something like that, and then we spread it out between his stream and our stream. I think it'd be a lot of fun. I wouldn't say so before, but now that Joker is allowing his crew to modify their mechs, I think it would be an interesting thing to try to put together. Like a tournament of a Mega Mech tournament. Casual Jokers versus our crew. Like and have like a best 2 out of 3 or something like that. I think that would be a lot of fun. Because I do think that his crew has a substantial amount of knowledge that would make them better, but I would say we have more experience at modifying mechs than they do. So I think it would be an interesting challenge. Alright, that's it for this mission.
Mission successful.
We're not going to have time for another one today. That's a lot of voices. Well, you would have to have, Haste, you'd have to have 2 different voice chats so people could, so both groups could communicate separately. So I think you would do You don't want Hauler designing their whole team. I mean, whatever. I mean, I think we have some very good mech designers on our side as well. So I'm not too worried about that. Let's see. Let's take these Phoenix parts. We should get a Phoenix out of this. Guidon, Javelin, Jenner, All Scout, Phoenix Hawk. 1, 2, 3, 4. Thorn parts, Wasp parts. Okay, let's see what we can put together in the mech bay. We do have enough time to do the mech bay, even though we don't have enough time for another mission. So if I could squeeze a little bit of time out of the mech bay here, we'll be happy. I mean, I think we have some pretty good mech designers too, Fluffy. Now they do have some more experience, I would say, overall, because we have some newer players that we would bring to the fight, but I think it would be fun. We are due, Fluffy. I think we should have a PvP event for our crew after this contract. Like, maybe take a couple weeks between the contracts, because everybody's going to need time to build mechs, and maybe take a couple weeks off. So I think us coming up with a schedule of events, maybe we take a month in between the contract and do some other things. We could do a PvP. We could also do a team versus team event, which we did last time, which was a lot of fun. I'd love a rematch on that. And we did some other things that were also fun. So I think we could easily take a month after this contract and do some other stuff before we go back into the next contract. Are you telling me we did not put a mech together? Oh, here we go. Okay. So I can put together a Phoenix Hawk. Okay.
That mech is ready to fight.
Alright, I can at least put a Phoenix Hawk together. Anything else? No. I'm telling you, mechs have been hard to come by in this playthrough. Okay, so we have a Phoenix. Okay, so that's a nice addition to our team. Alright, so let's build out a really good Phoenix. It's probably going to be expensive. Let's put in an XL engine. We're going to keep our jump jets. Keep the machine guns? No, we don't keep the machine guns. Let's see what else we have available. Do I put on a binary laser? Ooh. Okay, improved binary laser. Okay. We're gonna put on some small lasers. And all the rest is gonna go to heat sinks, I think. Oh, we gotta do ferrofibrous. Let's do that. Okay. And then most of the rest of this is going to go into heat sinks here. Let's do this. Let's spread out the jump jets. Like so. our heat sinking can do here. Heat sink. Heat sink. Okay, improve large laser. Large binary laser. Yeah, this is a start to a pretty good Phoenix Hawk. All right, not bad.
On it. I'll let you know when that's done.
Yeah, it's hot. I would love to put a double heatsink kit on there, Haste, but we don't have one. But the Phoenix Hawk is really good. Yeah, I might put a some more e-cooling in after the base build is done. But it's going to be tough without a double heatsink kit to make that work. But I really love the Phoenix Hawk as a sniper rear arc flanker. So we'll see how that develops. So that's going to do it for me today. Yeah, I think that's a lot of fun, Big Fluffy. I would like that. So let's talk about that more tonight. So I will see you tonight, Big Fluffy, at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for Megamech. Talk to everybody then.